This episode is about the suitcase. The suitcase? Yeah, here's the suitcase. Doing a little dance.
3. Let's get started.
I tried to include everything about the suitcase, so some of this has been covered in previous episodes, but I wanted to be all inclusive with the suitcase and the broken window in the basement. So let's get this party started. The crime lab examined the suitcase and there was nothing gross on it. No blood, urine, semen, amylase, or feces. So, the items found in the suitcase were the Dr. Seuss book, oh, the places you'll go, the pillow sham, and the duvet comforter. John Andrew said that the Dr. Seuss book was a high school graduation gift. So the question is, were those items just left in the suitcase, or were they put in the suitcase that night? Here's a photo of the back of the house, and where the door is, looking out that way, would be south, and then where the grating is and the window, as if you were inside the house looking out the window, that would be looking west, and in that direction would be the back alleyway. Now looking closer at the grate over the window well, it doesn't seem to be attached to the house with hinges or anything. It's just free fitting on there. So if someone were to remove it, it would be difficult and you'd have to move it quite a ways to the side. Now at the time, it would have been very cold outside, so you probably would have needed a sweater or a coat, and then you would have entered a warm house, and it was most likely dark. Here I created this little animation for you at a cost of $14.8 million. And so it's to scale. So the windows in the Ramsey basement, and they're 18 inches wide by 30 inches tall. And then the suitcase, which is a very large suitcase. I estimated the size of the suitcase. It is 31 inches long, 21 inches tall, and 14 inches wide. So you can see in this demonstration, as you lift the suitcase up, it easily fits through the window into the window well. A lot of room to spare. After creating this video, it's quite obvious that it fits because the suitcase is not as tall as the window. So you can see you can push it in there, and it's not as wide as the window, so there's room on both sides, and then you can angle it in to the back window well there. So it fits. Here's another photo of the window with it open as wide as it can, and you can see it's not obstructed by anything above it. You might have noticed that in the previous photo. The suitcase can fit in there. So why, oh why did the suitcase not go out that window with JonBenet's dead body inside it? John Andrew graduated in June of 1995, and initially he lived with the Ramseys when he started college in Boulder, but eventually by 1996 he moved out. So he wasn't living with the Ramseys when JonBenet was murdered. So Patsy was using his bed to organize the clothes for the cruise trip that they were going to take when they returned from Michigan. You see, people were thinking that Patsy was packing for the trip to Michigan, but she was also packing for the cruise that they were going to take for her birthday. And so she had a suitcase for each of them. But in this room, she had a suitcase for Burke and one for JonBenet. John Ander left Boulder, I believe December 20th, to visit with his mother in Atlanta for the Christmas holidays. Now, looking at JonBenet's room, you can see that the pillow is there, and it's a Beauty and the Beast bed set. And the other twin bed in her room is neatly made, so the pillow is there. Now, the thing that sticks out to me is JonBenet's pajama top that she was wearing Christmas morning. You can see it's sitting there at the head of her bed. So it looks like to me that she didn't sleep in her bed that night. Now, people wonder about this pillow here, but it doesn't seem to have come from John Andrews' room because both pillows were there. And in my opinion, it definitely didn't come from JonBenet's bedroom because beds had a pillow, and it doesn't seem to have come from Burke's room, but we can't verify that because the photograph that I've seen is only of the one bed and it's made. So if the pillow didn't come from the second floor, did it come from the third floor? The Ramsey's bedroom? Now, when Detective Linda Arndt went to the Fernie's house to speak to John and Patsy, when she spoke to John, she mentioned the basement window and that it was broke. And what did John know about it? And John told them a little bit about the broken basement window. But if he had told them earlier, while they were waiting for the ransom call, I don't think Linda would have asked him that night about it. Now, according to the book Perfect Murder, Perfect Town, right before 10 a.m., alone, John Ramsay went down to the basement where Officer French had searched for his daughter. In the room where his son Burke's train set was kept, Ramsay found a broken open window. He closed it before going back upstairs. Now, later in the book, when Detective Arndt asked John to search the house, Fernie stayed upstairs while Ramsay led Fleet White down to the basement. In Burke's train room, they looked at the broken window. Ramsay told White that some months ago he'd found himself locked out of the house and had broken the window, unlatched it, and climbed through. Now listen how John Ramsay describes the suitcase. From when he first talks about it being new and he doesn't know hardly anything about it, till later when he describes it as old and it's John Andrews and he knows a great deal about it. I had gone down there earlier that morning into that room and the window was broken, but I didn't see any glass around, so I assumed it was broken last summer. I used that window to get into the house when I didn't have a key, but the window was open about 1/8 of an inch and just kind of latched it. So I went back down with Fleet. We looked around for some glass again. Still didn't see any glass. My theory is that someone came in through the basement window because it was a new Samsonite suitcase also sitting right under the window. And you would have had to, you could have got into the house without that, but you couldn't have gotten out of that window without something to step on. And to even have known those windows were there wouldn't have been obvious to somebody who just was walking by. Do you know why there would be a sham, a duvet, and a Dr. Seuss book in that suitcase? No, my recollection of where that suitcase came from was he brought some clothes from Atlanta where he went to school, and when the kid left to go to school, BNF reported a storm in his apartment, and it ended up and it was in his room for a while. Then it was in the laundry room outside of the room for a while. Then I carried it downstairs. I presumed it was empty. No, the second floor, because I took it down to the basement, but I just kind of sat it in this room. We weren't terribly neat, so putting stuff away was kind of a progression. So it got that far, but I absolutely did not move that. Now listen to how John Ramsay discovered the suitcase under the broken basement window. Sometime that morning, I remember a day back in the summer when I had left my keys inside and was locked out of the house. To get in, I broke one of the panes in a basement window. Then I reached in and released the latch so I could climb inside. I think about the basement now. I jump up and hurry down there. That entry place needs to be looked at, I tell myself. I move down the basement hall and find the window. The pane is still broken, and the window is open with a large old Samsonite suitcase sitting right under it. Odd, I think. This doesn't look right. This suitcase is not normally kept here. I had discovered a hard Samsonite suitcase standing up against the wall under that window on the morning of the 26th. Was this suitcase used as a step to get in or out of the window, which was 5 feet off the floor? Maybe the killer discovered that he couldn't force JonBenet through the window opening, and she could have seen his face during the attack. Possibly the fear of her later identifying him, or his inability to shove JonBenet through the window, precipitated her death. Is John correct that JonBenet would have recognized her attacker, and that's why she was murdered?
A neighbor of JonBenet, Ramsey, says she heard the slain child beauty screaming at the top of her lungs the night she was murdered. I heard a terrible sound, Melody and Stanton tells the Globe in this week's issue. It was the longest, most horrible scream I have heard in my entire life. It sent shivers down my spine. I could tell the sound was coming from the Ramsey house, and I knew instantly it had to be their little girl, said Stanton, 52, who lives across the street, less than 0 feet from John and Patsy Ramsey's home in Boulder. The Ramseys have told investigators they slept while an intruder broke in and murdered their daughter last December 26. Boulder police said they would not comment on the Globe report. Stanton said her first instinct was to call police, but then I realized John and Patsy were home, so whatever it was that caused their little girl to scream, they were there to take care of it. She said she had not spoken earlier because she feared the media spotlight.
Could a neighbor hear JonBenet scream, but her parents upstairs could not? The intruder removed the grate from the window well. He entered into the window well. He opened the center window. He entered into the basement train room. He spent an hour or more in the house, writing the ransom note, getting JonBenet, assaulting and killing her. He found and placed the suitcase under the window. He He exited the room and into the window well. He left the suitcase flush against the wall. He replaced the grate back over the window well and left. Or was it John Ramsey's plan to remove JonBenet's dead body from the house inside the suitcase, wrapped in that comforter with the Dr. Seuss book, to be disposed somewhere? But when that didn't work out, he just placed the suitcase under the basement window and planned to deceive everybody that an intruder entered and exited through that broken basement window that he knew all about, because that's how he got into his house when he was locked out during the summer. Well, this ends this episode of Unsolved. And the next JonBenet Ramsey case episode will be next weekend. Same time and most likely the same place. So I'll see you then. John is always on the go. He and his crew were underway in the Port Huron yacht race in July. But his real love is the new, old-looking boat, Grand Season. He's the rare sailor who doesn't know how to tie any unique knots. Burke will be seeing the orthodontist in 1997. Our Home will be in Better Gardens publications in 1997. And look forward to seeing you in 1997. Still didn't see any glass.